Now folks, I don't like to do fear porn in my videos, but this is something here that that I personally am not really reading much about in mainstream media, but I think this is really important and very concerning. And it is the fact that not only is China building more nukes, but it is also hugely modernizing its existing nuclear arsenal. Now, depending on the source that you read, China either already has 500 nukes or already has 1,000 nukes, but they are on course to build 500 more nukes within the next 6 years. And then with the existing nuclear bombs that they have, again, whether it's 500 or 1,000 of them, I don't know, but they are really amping up the modernization of those pre-existing nuclear warheads. So in essence, what we are seeing here is China really amping up its nuclear arsenal. So what really concerns me about China just going crazy and amping up their nuclear arsenal is, why are they doing it? And it's obviously so that they can challenge the United States and its allies, so it can impose its own will in that area, such as the tensions with Taiwan and the South Asia Sea area, I think, and then also its long-standing tensions that it's had, I believe, with the country of India. But I think it's wanting to get itself into that position so that it can do what it wants in that area. Like, it wants to get itself in that position so it can attack Taiwan, so the United States would be less likely to get involved in that. And then of course, then if the United States does get involved in that, then you're going to have two nuclear armed countries, and China at that time will be having a lot more nukes and modernized nukes at war with the United States. And then the other thing I like to look at is, what kind of nukes does China have? And what I found is that China has ICBMs, the missiles that can cross from continent to continent and strike anywhere in the United States. They also have submarine launched ICBMs or missiles. They also have the mobile missiles, which is what you see in the films where the truck pulls out there, the nuclear warhead goes up and shoots off. And those are actually very difficult because since they can maneuver, it's hard to know where they're at all times. And then it's my understanding they also have tactical nukes. And then when I further researched what kind of nuclear weapons that China has, I found out that the Dongfeng appears to be the most common nuke that they have. And Dongfeng, I think, is spelled D-O-N-F-E-N-G, but that is a very powerful long-range weapon. From my understanding, those missiles can reach anywhere in the United States, and then again, they are big enough that they can easily wipe out a very large city. So besides the other threats that we have going on right now, the war in Europe that could expand out and involve Russia and the United States and other allies in direct conflict, and then the war that's going on in the Middle East that could expand and end up sucking the United States into armed conflict with countries that have nuclear weapons too. Besides that, what concerns me so much about China really amping up and modernizing its nuclear arsenal is that China has a population implosion that's coming up on them pretty soon. And what I mean by that is that China, in a few years, China is going to have more retirees living off the government money than they are going to have, than the number of younger workers working and putting money into that system. So here in the future, China is going to be hurting really bad. And then if you look at history, what happens is when you have something like that happening, then the government has to cut those programs, those socialist programs, and then people start getting hungry. And when people start getting hungry, they start getting angry at that government. When they start getting angry at that government, then you start having rioting and stuff like that. And then you start having instability in that country that starts building up. And then when you start having instability, then those governments have a tendency to take extreme actions to try to stop that instability, to try to make their people happy. So that could cause China to do something like attack a neighboring country so it can suck in its workers and its economy and stuff like that to bring more money into China. And attacking a neighboring country could draw the United States into a direct armed conflict with China. And who knows, when this happens, who will be our president of the United States at that time? Would they be smart enough to keep us out of a direct conflict with another nuclear armed country. But what I could totally see happening is the United States getting drawn into a direct conflict with China, and then at some point a tactical nuke getting used against the military forces of another country, and then that country responding with their tactical nukes, and then it just expanding beyond that point to where we actually have ICBMs hitting every major city across the United States. Now, when exactly could it happen that China gets desperate enough that they take desperate actions that could end up drawing the United States into direct conflict with them? And luckily we have a little time for that. I think it's 2035 that their demographic time bomb is really supposed to hit, again, where they have more retirees drawing out of the system than there are younger working people feeding into that system. However, you know, I don't and we don't have a magic crystal ball to know exactly when China will start with those desperate measures. Would they start with it a couple of years before that demographic time bomb, like maybe 5 years from now? Or could it be a couple of years after the demographic time bomb when things really start getting worse? We don't know, and I don't know, but that's if we even make it 10 years from now, but without some kind of major conflict that could involve nukes, with the war that's going on in Europe and the war that's going on right now in the Middle East. But it's just reasons like this why I try my best to prepare the best that I can for not being a millionaire, for preparing the best that I can for nuclear war. We have NBC respirators and extra of the filters for them. We have iodine pills that I make sure that I keep them up to date and not expired. We have ways to remove radioactive waste from our drinking water. And obviously we have ways to protect our food. And I will tell you this, the second that a tactical nuke gets used against either US soldiers or the soldiers of another armed country, I am going to immediately bug out here. I just don't think that we're just going to wake up one day to all-out nuclear war, ICBMs hitting each other's countries. I really do feel like it will start off with tactical nukes first and then just expand from there. So again, the second that country like China or Russia or Iran or whomever uses a tactical nuke against United States soldiers, or when the United States uses a tactical nuke on soldiers for a nuclear armed country, the second that that tactical nuke goes off, I am going to bug out here with my family. Now luckily in this area we don't have the prevailing winds that should be dumping radioactive waste on us, and I think that you'll probably have some time after that first tactical nuke goes off and the actual ICBM start flying. I do feel and I hope that if a tactical nuke goes off, you have at least a couple of days to get where you need to go before the actual ICBM start hitting. And my thing is luckily there's enough people that have cognitive dissonance that when that first tactical nuke does have, there'll be a lot of people that will stay in place and just hold their breath and just hope for the best. But instead of staying in place and holding my breath and hoping for the best, we're gonna be coming here. Now I know right now there's some people that's pounding on their keyboard saying, I would just as soon die in the nuclear blast and just die immediately, because after a nuclear war, the nuclear winter and the radiation's gonna make you die a horrible and slow, painful agony death. But I will say this, the more that I look into it, the more that I take what side A says and side B says, it doesn't sound like the nuclear winter will be as bad as they are making it out to sound. I personally believe that a nuclear war is survivable as long as you are not in or near the nuclear blast zone or in an area where you're going to be getting a ton of radiation dumped on you. So my personal belief is that if you are in an area outside of the blast zones and outside of where the radiation is going to fall down, because that's going to be coming down across the country, if you can be outside of those areas and have some good supplies put back, that you do have a high likelihood of surviving them. Call me crazy if you will, but my goal is to help my family survive. So what's your thoughts on this subject? Why don't you comment down below with your thoughts? And then we have to remember that if we do have a nuclear war, you're not just going to be able to run down to the pharmacy and buy whatever medications that you have to have. So to see a whole playlist that teaches you how you can use the common weeds and trees around you to make your own medicines, then click on the video that should be appearing on the screen just about now to learn what 90% of other preppers don't know. Anyways, folks, it is now nighttime out here at my bug out location. I do need to be going to bed pretty soon in my cabin. But folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.